Just share a couple updates, then we'll talk about some things that I think are just important for us as a staff, and then Keith will come and share a couple words. We have 2 staff updates. I know most of you heard about Cayenne coming on and doing education. Super excited about that. Just excited for what God's going to do in her heart for education, so that's awesome. Yeah, come on. And then the other one's to have Lorinda helping down in the daycare, and just what a God story. Wow. I loved getting to hear more about it at camp, and that's just so cool. Love having you around. It's just fun what God's doing, and I think you'd all agree that God's just lining these things up, and I really think that there's big things ahead as a result of it. So super excited for where the staff's at. Caleb, there's some cool things happening, and I'm just excited to see what God's going to do with him being around, doing some contract stuff right now for at the movies, but really talking about what does God have in store and what does that look like. So we're having some cool conversations about him coming on and being a part of some things going forward. I'm really excited about that. Something to me right now that's becoming more and more evident as we go further along in this transition, and it really looks like I'm going to be the next pastor, right? I think you've heard that, I'm trusting at some point. But something that's become evident is that we need to be crystal clear on what we do, and we need to do it well. We're a simple church in a lot of ways, and we're not trying to go in a million different directions, but we need to know what we do, and we need to do it well. Because I've been realizing that the devil is 100% attacking Celebrate. He doesn't like what's happening here, and I'm really positive that it's in seasons of transition like we're in right now, where the devil's really going to try and find ways to divide and to hurt us. And I just see it happening right now. And I think it'll happen when we stop communicating with our teams. It'll happen when we stop communicating with our ministry leads. It'll happen when we make decisions on our own, thinking that we know what's best or that we know better than someone else. It'll happen when you and I stop praying for each other, with each other, and when we stop seeking the kingdom of God. And it's not going to happen all at once, right? The devil likes to just a little bit at a time divide, attack, and harm us. And and I'm not saying that we're intentionally giving into these things. I'm just saying we need to be aware that the devil has schemes because he doesn't like what's happening here at Celebrate. And to acknowledge the transition even more, I know that Keith has been a lot of your pastors for a long time. I mean, most of you have been around here a long time. And so I understand that. And for someone who's led so well and pastored so well, transition is a little weird. I think that's fair to say. Just because, I mean, you've been the pastor for a lot of these people for 25, 20, 15 years. And so there's some grieving that's a reality as a part of the transition, and I understand all that. And that's natural and healthy, but if we're not careful, we won't grieve properly, and I think we'll end up causing harm. Even myself, I need to be so aware of that because we can cause damage or harm to the kingdom and to what God is trying to do here at Celebrate. And so what I want to do right now is really just give us some encouragements on how we can stay united and really just keep moving forward towards the vision, because like we always talk about, it's all about people meeting Jesus, right? Every one of you is here because you really believe that people's lives are changed when they meet Jesus. And you want to give everything you have, everything you are, to helping people meet Jesus. And what I want to talk about is all revolving around communication. So if I'd encourage you to take notes if you can. Obviously you're eating, so that might get a little awkward or messy. But we're going to talk about communication because I really believe this is going to be the key for us moving forward. Obviously your personal relationship with Jesus is so important. But even the key for your relationship with Jesus is communication, right? Back and forth communication, talking with God, letting him talk to you and speak to you through his word. It's central for all relationships. And I really believe that the moment you and I stop talking is the moment that the devil starts dividing us. And so there's 3 parts to communication that I just want to share with you that you can write down, and hopefully we can clarify some expectations as we go forward. And the first part of communication is just ask questions. Real simple, right? Ask questions. Because I think sometimes we get this idea that there's something wrong with being confused. There's something wrong with not knowing what's going on. There's nothing wrong with that as long as we're willing to ask questions. As long as we're willing to go to other ministry areas, go to our ministry lead, come to me and ask a clarifying question. I think asking questions can save us so much trouble and avoid assumptions. And I don't know about your parents. My mom always had a saying about assuming. And so she always said, you know what happens when you assume? I won't tell you what happens, but most of you know it, right? But just ask questions. try and seek to understand people's motives, even what's happening, what's going on in other ministry areas. And the second part of communication is just encourage one another. Encourage one another. Because you're dealing with people just like I am. We're all dealing with people. And being in the people business can get tough sometimes. And that's fair to say. We're all here because we have a heart for people. And when people don't follow Jesus, it hurts us. When people were following Jesus and we're seeing growth and God do some cool things, and then they walk away from the church or even from God, it hurts, right? And we carry those things and they weigh on us. I think we could all probably use more encouragement. More people just saying, hey, you're doing a really great job. I'm proud of you. Or keep going. Things like that are so important. And so look for ways to encourage one another. What if every day you had a different person that it was your goal to find something to encourage them about that day? Pull them aside for a moment and just say, hey, I've noticed you do this. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. It makes a huge difference. But I think we'd be a much healthier staff. I think more people would meet Jesus if we would just learn to encourage one another. It's one of the most common things you see in the whole New Testament is this phrase, encourage one another, right? Because we all need it. And then the third and final part of communication that I'd say is update, update, update. I'll say it 3 times because that means it's really important, right? Update, update, update. Because I want to come back to you cannot over-communicate. You can't over-communicate. If you think that you told your ministry lead about an idea you had or a conversation you plan on having, tell them again. Just remind them again. We do these things called weekly updates, at least with the ministry leads we do. And I'd encourage you, send your ministry lead weekly updates of the conversations you're having, the things you're looking at, what God's doing in your relationship with him, in your family. Just update. Fill them in with what's going on. If there's not a system for that, connect with your ministry lead and see how you can make sure they know what's going on. It's just so valuable. I know that all the ministry leads every week, on Thursday, they send me an update of just the important things that I need to know and that Keith needs to know. We get that. So we can make decisions and so we can continue moving the church and the ministry forward. It's so important that we get the right information, that we know what God is doing, what's happening, maybe some of the tension and realities that we're dealing with. But it's so helpful. I cannot stress enough in making decisions is just knowing what's going on. And then we also meet with the ministry leads every Tuesday morning just to make decisions, just to converse about some of the big picture things that are happening. So if you can update, then we can make decisions and know really what's going on in the church. And so here's what I would encourage you to do. If you have a big idea for your ministry area, run it by your ministry lead. Bring it to them, and then they can bring it to myself and the other ministry leads, and we can just kind of dream about what God has in store, what that looks like for us. I'd encourage you don't have permission to make decisions in your ministry area by yourself. That's not how we operate, right? There's no silos in Celebrate Church. None of our ministry areas are meant to isolate or for us to work alone. You're a part of a team. So please do not make decisions by yourself. That's unhealthy. Every Tuesday, the ministry leads, just to clarify with you, I meet with Shelly, who's serving an executive role and right now overseeing Kingdom Kids. And so if there's anything related to that, that's the person. Reed, who's overseeing adult ministry right now. Chris, who oversees weekends, but also marriage and family. Deborah, overseeing kids. And Michelle, who oversees finances. So if there's anything relating to those areas, those are the point people. And please make sure you're just always over communicating with those people accordingly, depending on what's going on. And one more thing I'd ask you, just as a favor, please don't reach out to the creative team personally and ask them to do things for you or for your ministry area. I just think it'd be wise if you bring those to me and we can filter those things out and discern what's best. But I love their hearts and they really do want to serve this church. And I think sometimes the temptation can be to overcommit, and most of us don't understand what they're doing in seasons like at the movies and things like that. So if you have any creative needs, you can bring that forward to me and we can help move that forward. And then one more encouragement I'd give you is don't just bring things you want announced on a weekend to Chris. I'd ask that. First of all, Sunday mornings aren't our just advertise everything that's going on in every ministry area. That's not what it's about. But if you have things that you think maybe this would be important to communicate, again, you can bring that to me, bring it to your ministry lead, and they can bring it to me. But that just helps us to remind ourselves what we're about. And anyone who comes up there, it's about the vision and moving that forward so we can help make those decisions and keep moving things forward. And then we definitely don't do things last minute. We're not a last minute church. We don't do things last minute. So if you're coming and asking for something, hey, can we talk about this Sunday? The answer is no. I mean, there's rare cases and opportunities, and we definitely take those. But those would be Keith and I decisions, and we navigate those together. But that's just what I'd ask, is just communicate. The more we talk, the more God will bless it, and the less I think the devil's really going to try and divide and attack. Well, can divide and attack what Celebrate is, what has in store, and what God's doing here. Does that make sense? Thank you. Thank you for everything you do. You're all so valuable to this team. I'm so grateful for you. I'm really seeing you work hard and reaching people. I'm just so blessed to be a part of this team. It's amazing what God has done. So thank you.
I'm going to piggyback what you just said, and I want to whiteboard it out here. Hopefully these things actually work. Nope. Yeah, that'll work. Can you guys see that? Yep. All right. One of the things that we're really big on is that God gives a vision. This is Wesleyan to a pastor. It doesn't work any other way. Now, if you believe that, you shouldn't be in a Wesleyan church. You just need to understand that I believe the Bible is very clear, and God will never give you a vision for this church. Watch this, okay? Theologically, if you believe that, God will never give you a vision for this church. Because I will 100% go against your God. Just understand that wording. I will 100% go against your God. I will be the guy that says, you're no longer employed here. I think you don't understand who God is. I don't think you know the scriptures. I'll be very clear about that. I will involve the LBA. I will involve Wes Smith. I will involve Joanne, and you'll be gone. And you're welcome to go split any other church. They won't even be thought about. I don't care if you go to your grave hating my guts and think I'm wrong. Okay? I'm in a Wesleyan church because we believe this, and I believe it with all my heart. We don't have elders sitting in the front row deciding if they like what I preached, and then they can decide if they want to keep me as their pastor. All right? This church didn't hire me. This church won't fire me. I work for a denomination. I have a boss. His name is Wes. The only reason you're in this room is because I hired you. Is that true?
Amen.
Let's just really be clear, because I'm not sure all of you are on the same page. Because a couple of you didn't even look at me when I said that, which that tells me you're not on the same page. So I pick up body language, and I'll probably have a conversation with you and talk to Noah. We might want to let him go. I have no problem with this. There's not even nothing in me that's anxious at all. If you're struggling with anything that I'm saying right now, it's because you're right now in sin and you're messed up. I have no problem saying it. You've never done what I've done. You've not gotten where I've gone, and this church didn't get where it is because of you. If you think, well, you don't understand. You hired me and I've done this. We'll fire you and we'll continue to move on and grow. This is real easy because it's not your church. The very thing you would be accusing me of is the thing you're doing right now. Does that make sense? You work for me, not God. That's how the Wesleyan Church words it. If that's a problem for you, there's the door. Go home, talk to God, and say, God, I need you to pay me. Because it's not biblical. Nothing hurts my heart more, and what's happening in America right now is this individual mindset, well, I just follow God. Then you go follow God. But you're completely unbiblical in that moment. Because you just told God that you don't need the foot, you don't need the hand, which is totally against Scripture. And the problem in the church is a lot of people start thinking we're equal. Well, you're not God, and He's the head of the church. Yeah, but He asked me to lead it. He didn't ask you. He put the calling on me. I take that very clear. I will never apologize for it. That's why I'm a Wesleyan pastor. I will never apologize for it. And I will never give my credentials, and you will never tell me how to do my job. You will never share in that job. I will never share it with you. You don't carry a man till I carry you. I will not apologize. If that's a problem, you can go pastor your own church, go work somewhere else and tell the boss there, you're going to tell him how to do his job. You're welcome to. but you're 100% unbiblical. I'll go to my grave with it. You need to go somewhere else. But you're 100% unbiblical. Because I will go to my grave. 100% I'll die for this. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That's so important you catch this. Because one of the problems that's happened in this church 25 years is, I've heard a lot of The only problem is you never really believed it. And some of those people, they're not in this room because they did not believe it. We found that out later. They've gossiped. They've gone, oh, Keith thinks he's God. Keith thinks he's just a control freak. I'm a control freak. Chris, how long have you been with me? I want foolishness to understand foolish. How long have you been with me?
25 years.
How many times have I tried to control you in the music and leading the worship of this church?
No.
Okay, so here's the only way this works. You've been with me longer than probably anybody in this room, okay? And you just admitted to it. So if someone doesn't believe that, it's because they have no respect of you, so they shouldn't be. I can't even believe that they're even calling themselves a Christian in this room and having people in this church pay their salary to make a living when they don't even trust you. See, somewhere you got to square with that. The dishonest person is you. You didn't do your homework. I did mine. I'm a Wesleyan pastor because I did my homework. The only reason you don't agree is because you didn't do your homework. You're lazy, you don't understand Scripture, you do not study it, and you did not want it, and you took a job and then lied to the congregation. I will go to my grave to it, and that's exactly how I will talk to people about you. I will not protect you. There's nothing in it. That's not what love does. It just doesn't. You want to go have an affair? I love you. You're still in sin, and that was wrong. So it's so important you catch this, because this church can't move forward because I've had too many dishonest people in this room who get paid by people in this church who call themselves Christians who I don't think they are. If you don't love me and you're in this room, you don't love God. Because Jesus said, you want to know who my followers are? Watch how they love one another. Don't tell them about how they love me. John said, how can you say you love me and don't even love your brother? You kidding me? You're a liar. He calls him a liar. That's from John the Beloved. So I'm just telling you, if you don't love and trust me, you don't love and trust God. Because he's the one that asked me to lead this church. And I've been here for 25 years, longer than anybody in this church. I'm still here because I don't lie, I don't manipulate, I'm not perfect, but I am who I am. And I'm going to pass those credentials on to Noah. So if you don't trust and love Noah, you don't love and trust God. Because love and trust would say, listen, I can't be a part of this church. And just be honest. Instead of being a coward and lacking integrity. I'm just calling it what it is. There's scripture to you. If you think I'm wrong, I really don't care. Okay? It doesn't bother me. I didn't get where I'm at because of you. You don't like Joanne, you don't like Wes, you don't like Isaac, you don't like any of the people I hang around with. That's fine. But they got where they're at and you didn't get there. So I'm going to put my trust in them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I've already wrapped myself with incredible people. You're not one of them. If it comes to that. That's your problem, not mine. I'm going to be this is so important because I believe Paul did it. I believe Peter did it. We're not playing games. I love the church. This is so important because Satan's trying every way he can to get in. God gave me a vision and called me to be a pastor. And then your job is to carry it out, period. When you're not ready to carry it out, we'll send you to Omaha and you can plant a church. That's what we did with Monty. It's not that Monty was anti what we're doing. Monty wanted to be a pastor. So we made him a pastor. He's killing it. We love that. We like planting churches. Okay? That's your job. The elder's job is to simply confirm it. All they do is sit with me and we talk about, are we staying on task? Are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? We come back to that. The reason I share all that is because Noah said something I don't want you to miss. Noah made the statement here. Oh, put it in here. And I thought it was brilliant stuff. Ask questions. Ask questions. Ask questions. Like, I don't understand this. I don't get this. That's what we do. That's what we ask questions. A question is not coming in, well, I disagree with that. That's not a question. That's an opinion. I hate opinions.
You too.
Because opinions mean you don't really trust God's vision. We got a vision in this church. Do you know why you're on this staff? Because you like the vision. Do you know where problems come in is? You forgot the vision. And now you have an opinion. And we've had some of that. We have a vision as a church, been around for 25 years. And we're having a few ministries throwing some thoughts out that I'm finding out for the deal. And I'm like, whoa, why would we do that? Why would we do that? And I met with Deborah over one, and I said, Deborah, I need to be clear with you. I'm the senior pastor. I hate that. Like, let me help you understand. The word hate, go to the word loathe. Like, it'll never happen in the history of mankind in this church as long as I'm the pastor. Where did that come from? Now, I think Deborah's a major team player, loves the vision, all that stuff. But what happens is when we don't ask questions, what we start doing is we bail from vision. It's just, and there's no sin in this. We bail from vision, and then we start thinking, well, maybe this might work and this might work. You build a church on vision, not on programs, not on ideas, not on little things over here, not on events. Vision builds church. And all the programs point to the vision. But what happens is when you fail and forget the vision, what we're trying to do, then we start coming up with ideas. And then we start having opinions. And they all start becoming divisive. Does that make sense? Because then and so I want you to share this. Ask questions. Always ask questions. Always ask questions. You can never ask enough questions. You never get answers unless you ask questions. And I always say this, there's no dumb question except one that never gets asked. Just ask it. Why don't we paint the church? Anybody thought about painting the church pink? It's a great question. No, but it asked. Way to go! Now we know pink's out. But you know what I'm saying? I probably wouldn't answer. I'm being funny here because I'd be like, why would you want it pink? Well, I believe it. I don't know if this means anything, but we kind of canvassed the entire town, and 90% of the city said they'd come to a church that was pink. Michelle, Greg needs to start painting it pink today. Okay, pink it. I'd be all over that. Right. Because I don't care what color it is. If that's what it'd take to get people to come to the doors of the church, we're going to be a pink church. Do you see what I'm saying? Because our vision is what? Reach people. But what happens is, well, pink's notice now what we're doing. Now we have an opinion. Now opinions are always about me. And that's the problem of the church. That's why churches don't grow. That's why churches, they get so certain route. We still call mega church. I know mega churches, they're running 32,000. They've been running 32,000 for the last 30 years. There's something wrong with that church. And everybody's going, yeah, but it's 32,000. I disagree. What are we trying to do? What are we trying to get done, right? We got to change our methods. We got to figure it out because that's our vision. We want people to meet Jesus. What do we need to do to get people to meet Jesus? And what's the effective way? And we start talking about ask questions. Encourage. God, there's not enough encouragement. I told you that. Find ways. I sent that text out. Many of you guys wrote back and said, oh, this is great. This is great. This is great. And I'm just sharing you. I got one card. Now, I'm okay with that. Here's my question. Anybody else in the room get a card from someone from the staff or a text saying they love you and care? I'm asking.
I got one.
You got one?
Yeah, good.
So you didn't listen to what I said. I told you to find creative ways. Make a call, drop a card, send a text, email, find ways to encourage one another, and you didn't. Why? So that's impermissible. That's the problem in the church. Find ways. Quit waiting. Find ways. I've sent a boatload out. Okay? Find ways. We got to do that. Tell people you love them. Tell them you call them up. Find ways to do it. Does that make sense? Don't text me back and go, this is great, I agree. Do it. Right? But then he said this. He said, update, 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 update. Okay? But here's the deal. This is where the questions come in, not statements. We're all about vision. You got hired because you love the vision. Don't bail from the vision. We keep things simple. We don't do lots of different things. And we can talk about it, when Deborah and I talked about it, you okay if I just share it?
Yeah.
Okay, so some idea came up about having Vacation Bible School. I hate Vacation Bible School. I'm the one that killed it in this church. I only did it to shut someone up because we were small enough, and then we did it and I killed it. I hate it. I grew up in the church. No one's been in the church more than me. How many been in the church for 59 years of their life? You have, okay? Yeah, but some of those years weren't very good, okay? Mine were all great. I hate it. Hate it. And because I grew up and I was around it. I was on staffs. I watched it just smother people for a week. It is not a week. And it's not as effective, and no one's told me that. I want to hear the effect. I would rather sit down, but I didn't know about it. All of a sudden, we're going to be doing it. And I was like, whoa, how do we get to a place that now we have a ministry running with something they're going to do, and I don't even, as a senior pastor, don't even know about it. We decided not to do it because we thought it was too soon. And I'm sitting there going, who makes a decision we get to decide just do something? Now, Deborah and I can talk about why. Do I think she's being divisive? Not at all. She's so on page. She's so amazing. She's so fired up. But it hits me how we can lose vision. How do we get to where we're carrying it out in the completely void abyss? Like how are we making a decision? That's a once a week meeting, and Noah didn't even know about it. How did that not get shared? That's why we need to be constantly talking, asking questions. Update. Hey, thinking about this. When you think about something, be very careful who you tell and involve. Because I don't know if there's going to be domino effects. 'Cause I don't know how many people got involved. Because I will promise you, I could go to this parts of this church. I'm the pastor. No one knows more than me. I promise you that. You may think you know more. You have no idea what I know. I could go to the church and get every idea I want to get done supported. And every one of them could be un-Christ-like and not what God wants for this church. And you will split the church. I promise you that. I will promise you that. It happens in church all the time. I could stand up on Sunday morning and say, hey, we're thinking about having a meeting for doing a Vacation Bible School. Do you think people will be there? I bet. When I grew up in a church, it was the best. We had our church, the last church we were at. Notice what they're doing. Pulling from the past, what they knew. And if I say it's not going to happen, they're sitting at coffee shops going, it's always about him. It's always. What happened to this? What happened? That's the reason you came to this church. Now I'm a bad guy? How did I become a bad guy? 2 years ago, I was best thing in sliced bread. But now we're not doing something you grew up with, that you knew, that you want, that you like, and now I'm a bad guy. It happens. You have no idea in 25 years how many times that happened. It's crazy. Everybody wants me to promote what they like. Everybody wants me to build what they remember. Everybody wants me to support and grow it because that's going to build the church. You have no clue how many people come up to me and go, the last church we were at, our former church, the church we used to go, those are common words. I hear them all the time. And I look at them and say, well, why didn't you go back there? That's how we say that. That's how we start the conversation. Why did you leave? Oh, I got it. You left that church because you don't like somebody, but you want to bring what you like with you. And now you'll like me, and this church is going to be great because now you get to do it here, which you're not going to do it anyway. You're going to throw the idea out, and everybody else has got to slave and die for it. And you want me to kill it it's because you think it's going to be great. I'm like, you need to understand something. Before you got here, there was God. Before you got here, He gave me a vision. And before you got here, He asked me to be the pastor. We're going that way. I don't pastor that church you left. I don't want to pastor that church you left. I'm sorry you had problems there. We don't want you to bring it with that here. We got things to do here. We want to stay on point. Other words, we're going to be a church that does 3,000 things okay rather than 1 or 2 things really well. Do you see how it happens? Update, update, update. Ask questions. Encourage. Talk. If you're not building each other up, it's mean because you're mad about something because you didn't get your way. And now we got a problem. That's the beautiful about encouragement. When you stay on vision, you just keep encouraging each other. We're not interested in bringing ideas of where we've been. Something may pop up, but America's where it's at because of where it's been. That you better figure out. And what we need to do, the impact, we need to figure it out. It's a different world. Please mark my words in this one. I'm 59 and I'm still in my prime. I'm probably smarter, wiser, and better than I've ever been. And I'm walking away from being the lead pastor. And you know why? Because where we're going doesn't need Keith. Where we're going needs Noah. So if you think you're making hard decisions, what I'm saying right here, I'm living it out, and it's not easy, but it's right. If we're going to reach the younger generation, and I'm having these hard conversations. I'm getting ready. I'm leaving here shortly. I'm heading to the airport here. Kay's going to take me here in about 5 minutes. And flying down to Tulsa, be praying for me. Going to be on a movie set tomorrow that's going on. But the reason I'm going down is to spend time with 2 people. I have supper with a guy tonight, be praying at 7 o'clock. He'll pick me up at the airport. And then I have breakfast with Kevin Downs tomorrow. But I'm on a Zoom call. And you need to understand, the movie world's I think one of the great Trojan horses that God gave the church is missing. Because I think we better figure this one out, because younger generation live on this thing. 50% of what they believe is truth come through TikTok. 50% of the Gen Z, 50% of what they believe is truth comes through TikTok. They live on this thing, thrive on it. So they want me to come in and try to get pastors, and I'm a little nervous because I think what they want me to do is to try to get pastors to convince embracing movies, and that's not what I want to do. You need to figure out that it's what's going to reach this next generation. I don't care how it looks. But they said something to me. The Kendrick brothers make movies for churches. The Kingdom story, we're very close. I know Alex Kendrick, I know Stephen Kendrick, I know the Kendrick brothers. I've hung out with them, okay? So we're in partnership. They're like, we make movies for Christians. And the churches go, oh, we just love it. Everybody, those are the movies to go to. Well, the Kingdom story said, no, we need to reach lost people. So let's leave Jesus out of it, but make sure Jesus is all over it. So they make movies that don't have Jesus in it. But man, is it a great Christian film, because it makes people ask questions. So we're working together, okay? Well, you can understand, the church loves the Kendricks. The church hates Kingdom Story because we sold out, okay? And I'm like, yes, we did, all right? And that's what I act to them. I said, I'm going to hell. See you there. We'll watch the movie there together. Anyway, so I just get so tired of it because I'm so sick of Christians thinking the only way we reach people is to make sure they're Christian first. You know what I mean? That's what we do. We go out in the lost world and go, do you know Jesus? Yes. Oh, love you. This is great. Would you come church with me? Anyway, I don't want to do that. I want to walk up to people and go, do you know Jesus? No, I think he's full of crap. Want to go have coffee? That's what we're supposed to be doing. Because that's what Jesus did, okay? He hung out with lost people and loved them, cared about them, So anyway, with all that being said, I'm on a Zoom call. This is Kingdom Story now. And they go, right now, our average age audience is 55 years of age. And and all I could do is something really biblical. I just went, that sucks. And I said, that has got to change. And they went, uh-huh. So the movies we're making right now, Jesus Revolution, our average audience is 55 and older. I said, that's got to change. So there's 2 movies coming out. One's called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, Jackson loves it. But probably the greatest movie, and I'm so glad Jackson's in the room, because Jackson, what is it? White Bird. They made a movie called White Bird. Of all the movies ever made, it's number 1. Number 2, number 3, Jesus Revolution, all those they're not even there. They're okay. It is out of this world. And it's a story. The younger generation, it'll speak right into them. I just leave it at that. So, but the best Christmas pageant ever is the same way. Young people. It's about children that have been abandoned. You don't even know if they have mom and dad. They never. But the church wants nothing to do with them, except one person. And they end up becoming the star of the Christmas pageant, and they're horrible kids. It is so good. And so I asked Kingdom Story. It comes out November 11th, so I've asked Kingdom Story during our celebration on the last Sunday night if we could show it in here for our entire church, and they said absolutely. So I'm really excited about that. But we've got to start figuring out how we're going to reach the younger generation and make film that they'd want to come to. And so that's my conversations in the next. Other words, I don't want to be a part of you. I just don't want to be a part of you. Because we can't keep doing what we like. And we can't keep moving this church forward unless we're really committed that God gave us a vision and celebrate. And the next pastor needs to be Noah, a young guy, who I want you to know, and I share with him Sunday at the second service. I thought first service he was okay. I mean, I couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. And so I went during the deal. I coached him a little bit between services, and I'm telling you, God showed up. Second service, he just crushed it. And while he was preaching, it's the first time I'd seen it. I've pastored this church, and I've done that. I've never led this church from the pulpit. And I had a vision that he was the next Judah Smith, and the place was packed while he was preaching. It was really emotional for me. And I don't just say those things. And I think God's getting ready to do something huge with the next generation through this church. And so this is going to be really important. That's why we're in this room, to make sure this vision comes true. And nothing distracts from it. Every ministry points to it. So all of you ministry leads on Tuesday when you're meeting with him, you need to tell him ideas, thoughts, updates, questions needs to happen in there. It needs to become a scientific discovery that we're trying to figure out a cure. You know what I mean? And we all have, every opinion matters. And in that room. And then let him lead. Let him lead and let him fail. Let him figure it out. Because we're doing some killer things. It's why Kyan's in the room. It's why Lorinda's in the room. It's why Caleb's in the room. You know it? It's this next generation. It's why we made the changes with Michelle and Galen, and I'm so grateful, Galen. I mean, you think about what I'm sharing's hard. Put yourself in him. He's been my right-hand guy financially, and we took him out of that role and put Michelle in him, and he's perfectly fine serving. You think that's hard? It's hard, but for the kingdom, it's worth it. That's why I'm stepping away. I believe the best days are ahead, and I want to coach every way I can. This stuff really matters. Is this helpful? We got to be united. You need to know you're on the page. You're called by God in this room for such a time. Let's go get it done. But you got to stay united. And you do it through the vision and encouragement. Those are great words that you had, Noah. Great words, and I just want to share that. So, everybody good?
Yep.
We need to update staff pictures. I'm going to have to leave. Noah can figure that out and talk, but we need to get everybody's new pictures. We have new people on the team. We want to get yours. Lorinda's pretty much moving in that role. She's going to be overseeing all the daycare, preschool, and Shelley's moving to more of an executive role. We just think she has so many different gifts and incredible gifts. So she's really serving Noah in all of those things. I think everything else is kind of staying the same. Is that right? Cayenne's now overseeing education. She'll take care of that. It's huge. And Brian and I are going to oversee fishing. And just spend time together and say good luck. Anyway,
You didn't like fishing.
so I do now. So
You're gonna need a boat.
see what this church is doing to me? I do now. So, So that's why I just did a message on it. Go fish. We're going fishing. So I do what I say. So is everybody good with this?
Yeah.
Is this helpful? I know I'm passionate, but I want you to get it. We got to stay united. We're in this thing together, guys.
Amen.
There's some great things. Please don't get defended by stuff like that. When I talk about VBS, don't sit there and go, oh, don't grab hold of stuff. I grew up underneath that too, probably more than you. I know it better than you even think you do. But it's about where we're going in some of those things. So but those things need to come and say, hey, we're thinking about something. What do you think of this? It might be we just do it different. We need to. What does it take to get what God's called us to do here? We just can't run. Okay, we just can't run with those. We got to talk. We got to talk. So, you don't feel attacked, do you? Okay, because I love this lady. I think she's amazing. I tell her all the time. I just think the world of Deborah. I think you're just in the perfect seat. Just awesome. And so, I think everybody is. I think God has really orchestrated an incredible team. Satan's going to come from the inside out, not from the outside in. We got to stay to what God's asked us to do. We have to stay on it. It's not optional. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, all right. I'll let you come up. You can finish up how you want to do staff pictures and that. But we got to do pictures. We got updates. We got new people, and it's time to make a change. Plus, I want to see Megan. You know what I mean? Every time I go on there, I'd always see you as scuba gear. Anyway, so I want to see Megan. Yeah, you're beautiful. You know, and I'm like, so we just got to come there. So, all right. Thanks,
you.
bud. You bet. Love you guys.
You take those? Do you take those? Okay. We'll on Teams send out a schedule then, or some time slots, and you guys can confirm when you can come in and take your photos, and we'll make that happen. Make it simple, painless, unless you don't like to smile, then really painful. So.